Okay, I was talking about connectedness and disconnectedness, that is connected graph and disconnected graph. So I already defined when will I call my graph as connected and when will I call my graph disconnected, right? And now the next thing that I started is something called as components. So till now I haven't defined what I mean by components. Now you see what I had, how had I started about components. Let G be any graph. Define a relation R on the vertex set V. So this relation R is defined on the vertex set of G by this. The two vertices are said to be related if and only if there is a UV walk in G. So I had given you as an exercise to prove that R is an equivalence relation. So you have done that. So that is done. Now whenever a relation is an equivalence relation, I can find the equivalence classes. I can find the equivalence classes. Now even I had asked you to find the equivalence classes. So only two of you had calculated and those were correct. So I'll just tell you what are the equivalence classes. Now if I find the equivalence class of this vertex, suppose I am considering this graph. Suppose I am considering this graph H. What are the equivalence classes? If I talk about the equivalence class of this vertex, so I have to find which vertices are related to this vertex. And how is the relation defined? Two vertices are related if there is a path, there is a UV walk between them. So this vertex is related to this vertex. Why? Because there is a walk from V1 to V2. So in the class of V1, if I find the class of V1, V1 is definitely there. V1 is definitely there, right? Because there is a walk from V1 to V1 just containing V1, right? Then V2 is definitely there, and then V3 is also there because I can find a walk from V1 to V3, as you can see. So this is the equivalence class of V1. Equivalence class of V2 will also be same, and equivalence class of V3 will also be same. And what is equivalence class of V4? It is just V4. So how many equivalence classes are there? Only two equivalence classes are there for this graph. And similarly, how many equivalence classes are there for this graph? Three equivalence classes are there because you can see what is the class of this vertex. What is the class of this vertex? This one, this one, this one, this one, this one. But this will not belong to the class of this vertex because I cannot find a walk from this vertex to this vertex. So class of this vertex will be this, 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 this. Class of this one will be this and this, and class of this one will be this, this, this. So how many classes will be here? Three equivalence classes will be here. And for the last one, this one, how many equivalence classes will be here for this one? Can anybody tell me? Very good. Only one equivalence class because I can find a walk from this vertex to any other vertex. So the class will contain all the vertices. Now what I will do with these classes? Try to understand my point. So I have defined an equivalence relation. With the help of this equivalence relation, I am calculating the classes. I am calculating the classes. Now choose any class. I'm choosing this class. Now join the edges between them. That means if the graph H had edge between V1 and V2, join them, and if it has a edge between V2 to V3, join them. If it does not have a edge between V1 and V2, don't join them. That means you consider the vertices in some class and then consider that subgraph of H. That means I'll draw this edge, I'll draw this edge. So with the help of this class, with the help of this class, I'm getting a subgraph of H. With the help of this graph, I'm getting another subgraph of H. Similarly, look at this one. With the help of the first equivalence class, I will get this subgraph. Then I will get this subgraph. And I'll get this subgraph. And each of these subgraphs are called as components of the graph. So this is what I mean by components. I define an equivalence relation. With the help of an equivalence relation, I get equivalence classes. With the help of these equivalence classes, I get a subgraph. These subgraphs are called as the components of H. So how many components does H have? It has just two components. This has got three components, whereas G, the graph G has got how many components? It has got only one component. So understood the definition of components? So I will write all of these, don't worry, first to understand. So in simple words, you see, what we see? Components are nothing but subgraphs. They are subgraphs. And to be very honest, I'll tell you, it is the largest possible connected subgraph of G. Okay, not exactly largest. I will say like this. It is the connected subgraph of G, which is not contained in any other connected subgraph of G. Like this cannot be inside any other connected subgraph of G, right? Similarly, this is a component. Why? This cannot be inside any other subgraph of G. But if you see here, this whole thing is a component, right? But if I consider this, okay, just this much, only this one. This is not a component. Why? Because this is contained inside this graph. This is contained inside this connected graph. Hence, this cannot be a component. So this is how we define a component in general. So let me write everything whatever I said till now. Then R is an equivalence relation. Okay, already done. This one is done. So let V1 be an equivalence class. Just try to connect with the example which I took. Let V1 be an equivalence class. So I am considering one equivalence class of R. So I am considering. So why I am naming the class V1? That will be a subset of V. You just saw the classes were nothing but the subsets of the vertex set. So let V1 be an equivalence class of R. And what I did, I took the edges, no? So and E1 be the set of edges. Joining the vertices in V1 in the graph G. So I will join those edges which are actually present in the graph but connecting the vertices in V1. Okay. Then this subgraph, if I consider this subgraph G1 equals to V1 is the set of vertices and E1 is the set of edges. This is a subgraph of G. This is the subgraph of G. So what is so special about this subgraph? So this is a subgraph of G. We see that G1 is a connected subgraph, right? G1 is connected. This is how it was defined. So we see that G1 is connected. This subgraph is called a component of G. So there can be many components. So this is a component of G. So given any graph, we define that relation. We found out the equivalence class. We join the edges which are present in the graph G, and only from the vertices V1. This is a subgraph of G. We see that G1 is a connected subgraph, and this subgraph is known as component of G. Okay. So now this is a definition, and in short, let me define what is a component. So this is how we get components. So thus this leads to the following definition of components. So what is the definition of component? This is the definition. So component is nothing but a subgraph. So a subgraph H of a graph G is called a component of G if. So if I give you a subgraph and if I ask you whether that is a component or not, how will you say if the following two conditions are satisfied? Right? Number one, H is connected. So if the subgraph is not connected, that cannot be a component, because by the definition of a component, we understood that the components are always connected. And number two, H is not properly contained in any connected subgraph of G. So basically they are maximal, like this is what we mean by maximal elements, but anyways I will not be defining the term maximal. So this is what we mean by a component. So what is a component? It is a subgraph which is connected and that is not properly contained in any connected subgraph of G. That means that is the biggest one that you can find, that is the biggest connected graph that you can find. Okay, the term biggest is definitely wrong. You should use the term maximal. Okay, so they are maximal connected subgraphs. So for example, okay, I have already given you the examples in the last class, last few minutes. Just to copy it down. So it has got how many components? Two components. One is this component. This subgraph is one component. This subgraph is another component. So this disconnected graph has got how many components? Two components. And this is another disconnected graph. So how many components does this graph has? It has got one component, two component, three component. So what are we understanding? We are basically visualizing a disconnected graph as a union of some small connected graphs, and we have called that connected graphs as components. So every disconnected graph has got finite number of components, right? So you give me any disconnected graph, that will definitely have some number of components. Like this has got three components, this has got two components, and whereas this graph is connected, it has got how many components? Just one component. And that is just very much true from the definition of a component itself, that when a graph is connected, it will definitely have only one component, and the converse is also true. Okay, very quick note. So what is the note? G is connected if and only if it has only one component. So this is another very useful fact about components graph that I'll be using later on again. So my graph will be connected if and only if it has got only one component. This directly comes from the definition of a component. So if my graph has got more than one component, I will say that the graph is definitely disconnected. Understood? Now we will do two theorems based on connected subgraphs. Okay, so this is the first theorem about the connected subgraphs. Okay, so what is the theorem? A very interesting theorem. A connected graph with n vertices has at least n minus 1 edges. So this is a very nice theorem that it says that the minimum number of edges in a connected graph with n vertices is n minus 1. So if my graph is a connected graph, it will definitely have n minus n edges, where n is the number of vertices. It cannot have less than this many edges. If it has got less than this many edges, then my graph cannot be connected. So remember, what is the theorem? The minimum number of edges in a connected graph with n vertices is n minus 1. So let's do the proof. So the proof is by induction. That means we consider a graph with n 1 vertices and just prove this sentence. Then we assume it for n and prove it for n plus 1. This is what we mean by principle of induction. Okay, we prove that this given statement is true. This given statement is true for one vertex, that n equals to 1. We assume it for n and prove it for n plus 1. So keep this in mind. So let me do the proof. So we prove the result by induction on n. Okay, we will prove the result by induction on n. So basic step we know. For basic step we take n equals to 1. So basic step, if n equals to 1, right? Now you see, if my graph has got one vertex, that will definitely have 0 edges. That is very obvious, right? Because when it has got one vertex, it will definitely have either 0 edge or 1 edge or 2 edge, etc. So n vertices has at least 0 edges, which is trivially true. So if n equals to 1, then the result is trivially, because they cannot be less than 0 edges. Edges cannot be negative in number, right? And the edges is, then the result is trivially true. So we are done with the basic step. So let's go for the induction step. So what is the induction hypothesis? So what we do, we assume it for k and prove it for k plus 1. So instead of writing k, I'll be using n only. So I will assume it for n and prove it for n plus 1, and that will be done, right? So assume that I'm assuming the whole thing. Assume that any connected graph with, you can write n vertices or k vertices. Okay, you have a habit of doing it for assuming it for k and proving it for k plus 1. That is also fine, but what I am doing, I'm just keeping n as n. So assume that any connected graph with n vertices has at least n minus 1 edges. You might be confused that, sir, you are writing the statement like only. Basically, this is what we do in hypothesis, induction hypothesis. You have a habit of taking here k, you take here k, doesn't matter. Okay, so assume that any connected graph with n vertices has n minus 1 edges. This is my induction hypothesis. I'm assuming that this is true. I'll prove that any connected graph with n plus 1 vertices has at least n edges. This is my aim to prove. Again, I'll repeat. If I am increasing the vertices by n plus 1, so if I am increasing the vertices by 1, that means n plus 1. So I have to prove it has got at least n edges, because n plus 1 minus 1 is n edges. So this is my aim to prove. Remember that. So I proved that. So now I have the induction step. So what is the inductive step? So consider a connected graph. Suppose I will name this graph G only, with n plus 1 vertices. So remember that I am assuming this, a connected graph with n plus 1 vertices. I have to prove that this graph will have at least n edges, because n plus 1 minus 1. So that is my aim. I have to prove that G has got n many edges, at least n many edges. Do you have any confusion up to here? Okay, then I proceed. Now we will do the proof in two cases. Okay, so let me write one more line. So because G is connected, the degree of every vertex, in G is greater or equals to 1. This is by definition of a connected graph. I have also written this note, because if my graph is connected, it cannot have any isolated vertices. Right? So degree of any vertices or any vertex is at least 1. It can be more than 1, it can be equal to 1, but it cannot be less than 1. It cannot be 0. If it is 0, then the graph cannot be connected. So because G is connected, the degree of every vertex in G is at least 1. Okay, this is very obvious. Now we will do the proof in two cases. First, I will assume that, degree of every vertex in G is at least 1. This is true in G. I will do the proof in two cases. I'll first assume that, suppose that G has all vertices having degree greater or equals to 2. I will do the proof in that case, and then I'll do, suppose that G has a vertex of degree at least 1. Okay, again I'll repeat, I will do the proof in two cases. Firstly, I will assume that, suppose if all the vertices in G has got a degree at least 2. We'll do the proof in that case, and then in the next case, what we will do? Then we will do the proof for, suppose it has some vertex having degree equal to 1. Then what will happen? So let me do the proof. So this is the first case I will be proving under this condition. Suppose that the degree of every vertex in G is greater or equals to 2. Don't get confused. We just know that the degree of every vertex in G is at least 1. But I am considering one extra condition, that suppose that the degree of every vertex in G is greater or equals to 2. Some of you might disagree that, sir, it cannot have a degree, it may not have a vertex of degree 2. I definitely agree with you. Okay. But let us prove in this case, and we will also prove for the other case that when this condition is not satisfied, that means when it has at least got one vertex having degree 1, we'll also go for that case. And that will complete the proof if I am done for both the cases. So first, suppose that this happens. Suppose that the degree of every vertex in G is at least 2. Okay. Try to understand my point very carefully. Then the sum of the degrees of all the vertices can be how much? Can you tell me what is the sum of all the degrees of the vertices in this case? What will be the sum of the degrees of all the vertices? See, the degree of every vertex is at least 2, and how many vertices are there? N plus 1 vertices. So this will be greater or equals to 2 times n plus 1. Do you agree with me? Yes, Rajiv, you are correct. At least 2n plus 2, which is same as writing 2 into n plus 1. This is very obvious because every term here is 2, and how many terms? At least 2, and how many terms are there? N plus 1 terms are there. That means 2 into n plus 1. And this number is strictly greater than 2n. Right? This number is strictly greater than 2n because this is 2n plus 2 and this is more than 2n. And what is the sum of the degrees of all the vertices? Can you tell me what is the sum of degrees of all the vertices in a graph? This was the first property of graph that we did. What will I get if I sum up all the degrees of the vertices? Very good. So I know that in a graph, the sum of degrees of all the vertices can be written like this: 2 into the number of edges in G. This is greater than 2n, or 2 and 2 got cancel. Number of edges in G is greater than n, and then we have got the proof. Under this condition, I was supposed to prove that my graph has got at least n edges. I have proved. Understood the first part of the proof? So we have done the proof under this condition. But it may happen that G does not have a vertex, any vertex of degree 2. So let's do the proof when this statement is not true, but the contrapositive, or the, sorry, not contrapositive, but the negation of this statement is true. That means when this is not happening, when this will not happen, that means G will have at least one vertex of degree at least 1, right? It will have a vertex of degree 1. So let's do the proof in that case. Okay, so we are not done with the inductive step. I have to prove this in general. I am assuming this and proving it. I have to use the negation of this to prove this again. Next, suppose now that G has a vertex, that means at least one vertex. Okay, suppose I am naming that vertex V of degree 1. So we are now doing the proof for this case, degree 1. So let us suppose that G has a vertex V whose degree is 1. So how will G look like? Try to understand. Keep that in mind. G is a connected graph. So G has got n plus 1 edges. So this just try to understand my point. This is V. So this is V. How many graphs are there? How many vertices are there? N vertices are there. And this is like including this, how many vertices are there in G? It has got n plus 1 vertices. Keep that in mind. So I am just keeping this vertex aside. How many vertices are there? There are n vertices here, and including V there are n plus 1. And I don't know the degree of this ones. Degree of this ones are at least 1. I know that. So they may be connected like this, like this, like this. I don't know. I'm just drawing like that. They can be parallel edges also. I don't know how G will look like. Okay. But that I know that G is connected. And there is the degree of this vortex is 1. So V can be like this. So just a minute. Yes. So this. There may be many. Achha, I don't want to draw any more vortex. So look at this one. Because the degree of V is 1, only one edge can be incident to V. Now G has a vortex V of degree 1. So V has got only a degree 1, so only one edge can be incident to it. So you see, don't draw this diagram because G can be any other graph as well. But I am just drawing it so that you can understand. Okay, I am just drawing it so that you can understand. So G will have n plus 1 vertices. There are n vertices and there is one vertex V. As you can see that the graph G is connected, because that is given in the assumption only that G is a connected graph. So this is the scenario. Okay. Call G1 equals to G minus V. So I have already explained you what I mean by G minus V. What was the meaning of G minus V? I am removing this vortex V and all the edges incident to this vortex V. So if this is my graph G, this is my graph G. From this graph G, I am removing this vortex V, and along with that vortex, I am removing all the edges which are incident to V. So this is my new graph G1. So my new graph G1 will be just this, leaving this red line and this black dot. So this will not be there. This is my new graph G1. And by the way, you know, I am just removing one edge because I know G has a vortex V of degree 1. So I know that when I am doing this, I am just removing one vortex and I am just removing one edge. So G1 has one edge less than as compared to G and one vortex less than as compared to G. Understood up to here? I'll just write. Then what about the G1? G1 is connected or disconnected? What can you tell me? Is G1 connected or disconnected? I hope you all will agree this G1 is a connected graph. If you are thinking why, just simply think that if G1 is not connected, then that will imply G is also not connected, and that will lead to a contradiction. Right? Because G1 is a subgraph of a connected graph that must be connected, as simple as that. No, I cannot say that must be connected, but by the construction I can see that it is connected. Right? So then G1 is a connected graph with how many edges? How many vertices? N vertices. Okay. N vertices, and number of edges in G1. Number of edges in G1 is equal to number of edges in G minus 1. That I know. These two things I know because I have only removed one edge. Right? And my graph G has got n many vertices. Now, just look at this sentence from here to here. G1 is a connected graph with n vertices. So this will call the induction hypothesis. You see, what is the induction hypothesis? I have assumed that any connected graph with n vertices has at least n minus 1 edges. So G1 is a connected graph with n vertices. Therefore, by the induction hypothesis, what can be said? Number of edges in G1 is at least n minus 1. Understood my point up to here? And use this fact. So number of edges in G will be 1 more than this. So therefore, number of edges in G is at least n minus 1 plus 1. You can see from here, number of edges in G is, you can send that 1 there. So number of edges in G1 plus 1. That is, number of edges in G is at least n. So we are done with the proof, right? Is at least n. Thus, the result is true for any connected graph with n plus 1 vertices. So I have proved it for 1, assume it for n, and proved it for n plus 1. So by induction, the theorem is true. So this completes the proof to the theorem. So this will give us an idea of the number of edges in a connected graph. So I cannot have a connected graph having 10 vertices and 8 edges, right? Because by this theorem, if my graph is connected and having 10 vertices, it should at least have 9 edges. If I'm asking you, can you have a connected graph having 10 vertices and 8 edges? The answer is no. We cannot find any connected graph having this condition, that 10 vertices and 8 edges is not possible. So the minimum number of edges that is required to make your graph connected is at least n minus 1, where n is the number of vertices. Understood? Any confusion? Okay. Next theorem about connected graph. So what is the next theorem? This is the next theorem. So this one is this. Let G be a simple graph. Let G be a simple graph with at most 2n vertices. So I have a simple graph with at most 2n vertices if the degree of each vertex is at least n, then the graph is connected. The graph G is connected. So this is a sufficient condition to be a connected graph. That means if this condition is satisfied, then my graph will be connected. What was the previous theorem? That was a necessary condition to be connected. If my graph is connected, then this must happen. Okay? And this says that if this is happening, then my graph will be connected. So why I have taken it 2n vertices? so that here fraction does not involve. Like for example, you can write here at most n vertices, here write n by 2. That is also fine. So I am just taking why I have taken 2n vertices, because here it is happening n. If I write here n vertices, here it will be n by 2, and that will make things more complicated. So that is the reason I have considered 2n vertices. The proof is just a corollary to the previous theorem. I'll do it very quickly. I have to prove that graph is connected. My graph G is connected. Suppose this is not true. That means suppose that my graph G is disconnected. Suppose that, so I'm starting with a what is this called as? I'm not getting in. Okay, just a minute. Suppose that. Oh, I'm doing the proof by the method of contradiction. I am assuming that G is not connected, and that will lead to some contradiction. We'll see how. Suppose that G is not connected. That means it is disconnected. Or you may write it here. That is, G is disconnected. So I am assuming this. Suppose my graph G is disconnected. Then what will happen? Because my graph G is a disconnected one, it will have some components. It will have finite number of components. Any disconnected graph has got finite number of components. So then G can be partitioned into components. So already explained what I mean by components, how G can be partitioned into components. Suppose I am naming the components like this: C1, C2, dot dot dot, Cm. I am assuming that there are m components and m is greater or equals to 2. If the number of components is 1, then my graph will be connected. So because I am assuming that the graph is disconnected, then it will definitely have at least 2 components. Am I clear up to here? So we are done up to here. That G can be partitioned into components and there are at least 2 components. Now let's use the given condition. What is given in the question? The degree of each vertex is at least n, because the degree of each vertex is at least n. Okay, so because the degree of each vertex is at least n, this is given in the question, and this is also given in the question. G is a simple graph, it cannot have any loops or any parallel edges. So because the degree of each vertex is at least n and the graph is simple, so this is given to us. So you see, my graph is a simple graph and degree of each vertex is at least n. So any vertex is adjacent to at least n vertices. Then only it is true, right? Because my graph is simple and degree of each vertex is n. So this vertex has got degree n, at least n. So there will be at least n vertices with which this vertex V will be adjacent, right? So I'll just write that fact. We find that each vertex has at least n adjacent vertices. This is true due to this fact, because if the graph is not simple, it can have loops, so this will not be true. But because the graph is simple and the degree of each vertex is at least n, this condition will definitely be true. Understood or no? Now you try to understand my point. Every vortex, just look at this one. Each vortex has at least n edges, n adjacent vortices. So if you consider any vortex V, this vortex is adjacent to at least n vortices. Now you see, this all will belong to a same component. Why? Because in the class of V, this all vortices are there because I can find a walk from V to any of this vortex. So try to understand my point. This all will belong to a same component because I can find a walk from this vortex to any of these vortex. So any component will have at least n plus 1 vortex. Then each component contains at least n plus 1 vortices. Did you understand my point? This line which I wrote, please try to understand each and every line that I am writing. All have got a meaning because every vortex V is is adjacent to n number of vortices. So these vortices cannot lie in different components. Why? Because if I take this vortex, I can find a walk. I can find a walk from this vortex to any of these vortex. So they all lie in the class of V. So in the class of V, how many vortices are there? N plus 1. So every component will contain at least n plus 1 vortices. Understood my point? Now you see, every component has got n plus 1 vortices. Every component has got n plus 1 vortices. And how many components are there? There are m many components. So you see, and all the components are, you see the word partition. That means if a vortex V lies in one component, this vortex cannot lie in another component. That is by definition of a component, right? So this implies that the number of vortices in G is at least, so try to understand my point. Every component has got n plus 1 vortices, and how many components are there? M components. And I know that components are different, right? That means their intersection. I should not use the word intersection because I have not defined it. Anyways, I can just make you understand that they are different, right? So when a vortex lies in this component, it cannot lie in any other component. That comes directly from the definition of a component because they are equivalence classes, and equivalence classes are either disjoint or completely identical, right? So this implies that the number of vortices in G is at least m into n plus 1. Why? Because each component has got at least n plus 1 vortices, and how many components are there? There are m components. So the number of vortices in G is at least this, and this is greater or equals to, this number is greater or equals to, m is greater or equals to 2. So you just replace m by 2. So 2 into n plus 1. So this implies that the number of vortices in G is at least 2 into n plus 1. Understood up to here? and you see this number is again more than 2n. This number is again more than 2n. So just write this sentence. This implies that the number of vertices in G is at least 2n. Okay. So this implies that G has at least 2n vertices. So my graph G has got at least 2n vertices. This is a contradiction because here, what was my hypothesis? That the number of vertices in G is at most 2n vertices, right? Has at least this. I should actually not at least this, but at least 2n plus 1 because it is greater than 2n. So at least 2n plus 1. We always say 2n plus 1 here, okay? So this implies that G has got at least 2n plus 1 vertices, which is a contradiction. To the hypothesis. Okay, this is the contradiction that G has got at least 2n plus 1 vertices because my hypothesis was G has got at most 2n vertices and here I am getting more than 2n vertices. So which is a contradiction. So why this contradiction occurred? Because I assumed a wrong thing. This was a wrong thing. That means G is connected. So you write down the last sentence. Therefore, G is connected. Okay, just write down the last thing. I'm just writing the proof here, but you just write down the last sentence. Therefore, the graph G is a connected graph.